I spent a year and a half immersed in the development of what I believed would be a game changer in cybersecurity, a system so advanced it could predict and intercept cyber attacks before they even launched. I called it VigilNet, a name inspired by the ever-watchful guardians of myth, designed to be a sentinel against unseen threats. When I joined Ironcore Dynamics, the startup had all the right ingredients: deep funding, cutting-edge infrastructure, and the kind of hungry, ambitious energy that made innovation feel inevitable. It seemed like the perfect incubator for my creation. What I didn't know, not then at least, was that the CEO, Nathan Cross, had an agenda of his own, one that didn't include me past the point where my invention was ready to be unveiled. My name is Alex Morgan, and until just yesterday, I was Ironcore's lead AI architect. Before Ironcore, I'd been securely employed at Microsoft, well-paid, respected, and comfortable. But comfort doesn't drive revolution. So I walked away from that certainty, armed with years of technical experience and a vision that I was sure could transform how we understand and defend digital spaces. From day one, I poured myself into VigilNet late nights, skipped weekends, obsessive troubleshooting. I was averaging 80-hour work weeks, and still I was energized. This wasn't just a job, it was my life's work taking form, code line by code line. Occasionally Nathan would drop by my lab with that polished executive demeanor, tailored suits, calculated charm, and a rehearsed smile that never quite made it to his eyes. "You're doing incredible work, Alex," he'd say, flipping through progress reports with performative interest. The board couldn't be happier. 3 days ago, I hit a breakthrough that made everything worth it. VigilNet intercepted and neutralized a simulated cyber attack of the highest sophistication, all without human intervention. Not only had it performed flawlessly, it had detected vulnerabilities I hadn't even programmed it to look for. The system was evolving, teaching itself, sharpening its defenses in real time. It was a moment of pure scientific awe. Buzzing with excitement, I reached out to schedule a meeting with Nathan. His assistant, Ashley Reed, managed to fit me in for a quick 15-minute window the next afternoon. I didn't mind, this was worth it. I walked into his sleek, glass-paneled office, laptop in hand, ready to blow him away with the results. But the room wasn't empty. Nathan was already seated, and beside him was Monica Blake, Ironcore's steely-eyed legal counsel. She greeted me with a thin, unreadable smile. "Take a seat," Alex, Nathan said, gesturing toward the leather chair across the table. His voice was even almost rehearsed. "Monica is just here for a routine formality." A chill rippled down my spine, but I kept my face neutral and sat resting my fingers on the edge of my laptop. I was still optimistic, still not connecting the dots fast enough. "Before we dive into VigilNet," Nathan said smoothly, sliding a stack of papers across the table toward me, "there's something we need to clear up regarding your employment agreement." Monica's voice was clipped and devoid of any emotion as she chimed in. "Section 14.3 states that any intellectual property created using company resources becomes the exclusive property of Ironcore Dynamics." I nodded slowly, seeing where this was headed. "I'm familiar with standard IP clauses," I replied calmly. "But the concept for VigilNet predates my employment. I've got documentation, sketches, notes, prototype code dating back months before I ever signed with Ironcore." Monica didn't even blink. "Having an idea is not the same as building a product," she replied. "And this system, this fully functional system, was developed here on Ironcore's time, using Ironcore's resources." Nathan leaned forward, then the pretense of cordiality slipping. "Let's be honest, Alex. VigilNet is company property. The board has reviewed your contributions and believes your compensation package is quite generous." I narrowed my eyes. "Compensation package?" He offered a smug little smile. "Your contract includes a success bonus. Once we officially launch VigilNet, you'll receive a one-time payment of $300,000. That's more than fair by industry standards." The number landed like a slap, $300,000, for a system that could easily generate billions, for 18 months of sacrifice, solitude, and sleepless nights, for my vision, for my brilliance. Nathan, completely oblivious to the storm building behind my eyes, kept talking. "Tomorrow, I'll be unveiling VigilNet to our top investors. We expect to bring in another $75 million in funding. After that, we'll announce our new groundbreaking cybersecurity solution to the world." I clenched my fists, struggling to keep calm. "So you're firing me?" Monica sighed like it was a chore. "We're transitioning you out, effective immediately. You'll get your bonus." Nathan smirked, proud of himself. Congratulations, Alex. You're no longer with the company. But what Nathan didn't know, what no one in that room realized, was that I had been preparing for this very moment. 6 months ago, an alert pinged from my private development server. Someone had accessed it after hours. Nothing was stolen, but the breach had triggered an internal failsafe I'd coded in as insurance. From that moment forward, I began adding internal countermeasures not just to protect VigilNet from external threats, but to shield it from the people closest to it as well. I nodded slowly, masking my fury. Of course, Mr. Cross, I said, handing him my laptop with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Best of luck with your investor presentation. Security escorted me out, watching every move as I boxed up my personal effects. I carried that cardboard box like any other corporate discard, but unlike the others, I wasn't walking out empty-handed. Inside that demo presentation was a very specific piece of code. A time-locked surprise. One that would make its debut exactly 10 minutes into Nathan's big show. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I didn't even pace the floor of my apartment, whispering curses to the night. No, instead, I did something surprisingly ordinary. I ordered Thai food from the hole-in-the-wall place, 2 blocks down the one with the neon dragon in the window and eternally sticky menus. I curled up on the couch, wrapped myself in a fleece throw I'd forgotten I owned, and let a brain-dead sitcom drone on in the background. It was absurdly calming watching other people's fictional mishaps unfold with laugh tracks timed to perfection. At exactly 9:30 p.m., my phone vibrated against the coffee table with the urgency of fate itself, the name glowing on the screen, Ashley Reed. He wants to see you, she said without so much as a hello. I blinked, eyes flickering toward the digital clock on my TV. It's nearly 10. He says it's urgent, Ashley replied, her voice uncharacteristically tight. There's already a car en route. 40 minutes later, I found myself once again stepping through the sleek glass doors of Iron Core Dynamics, though this time the building felt different, emptier, hollow somehow, as if even the walls sensed a storm was gathering. I was led through the dim corridors by a silent security officer whose stiff demeanor barely concealed the chaos beneath. The conference room's door swung open ahead of me, revealing Nathan Cross sitting alone at the head of the long obsidian table. Gone was the tailored poise, the smoothness of his boardroom persona. His tie was loosened, the top button of his shirt undone. His hair, usually immaculately parted, was tousled and wild, the temples already slick from anxious fingers. His expression was carved from desperation. "Fix it," he snapped the moment the door clicked shut behind me. I didn't flinch. I took my time, letting the silence settle like dust. I moved to the chair opposite him and sat with slow precision, letting my presence loom large in the space. "Fix what exactly?" I asked, letting my voice drip with disinterest as if I had no idea what he was talking about. Nathan leaned forward, eyes burning. "Don't play games, Alex. You sabotaged the demo." I arched a brow. "How could I? I've been out of the building for 24 hours. Your team escorted me out. I didn't take any devices. I haven't accessed any of your systems." His fist slammed against the table. The system crashed, Alex. It flagged fake threats across the entire network, thousands of false positives. It's unusable. I tilted my head slightly, feigning innocent curiosity. "Sounds like a technical issue," I said softly. "Have you tried turning it off and on again?" His face darkened, turning a deep shade of red. "This isn't a joke. We have 12 major investors arriving in the morning. $75 million is riding on that demo." I leaned back, folding my arms. "Your investors," I corrected with deliberate coldness. "Your system now." Nathan took a sharp breath and let it out, slowly, struggling to compose himself. When he spoke again, his voice shifted into that same honey-slick tone he'd used the first time he'd convinced me to trust him. "Look, maybe we were a bit hasty yesterday. I'm prepared to offer you a more equitable arrangement. Co-creator credit. A larger compensation package. Maybe even equity." I studied him for a moment, amused at the sudden turn of tone. What exactly happened during the test run, Nathan spare, no details. He hesitated. The confidence wavered behind his eyes, replaced by a flicker of fear. "The system turned on itself," he finally admitted. "It began identifying Iron Core's internal components as threats. Then, it started generating reports, hundreds of them, flagging so-called internal ethical breaches." A smile touched the corners of my lips, slow and satisfying. "VigilNet is designed to detect threats, Nathan. All threats." His expression curdled. "What did you do?" I didn't sabotage anything I said, tone even. VigilNet is operating exactly as intended. It learns, it adapts. And during its development, I fed it real-world case studies of cyber attacks. Some of those threats originated from within the very organizations they were supposed to protect. Color drained from his face. You trained it to spy on us. I trained it to recognize patterns I corrected, wherever they originate. Understanding dawned on him slowly, like a cold sun rising. The system hadn't malfunctioned. It had evaluated Ironcore and Nathan in particular as the risk. His jaw clenched. You can't prove any of that. I don't need to. I leaned forward slightly. VigilNet has been documenting everything for months. Every unauthorized access, every file you copied, every document you edited. It's all archived, timestamps, access logs, even keystroke records. The reports are already generated. Do you want to see them? The silence that followed was a chasm. He stared at me, and I watched the transformation rage dissolving into calculation. Finally, he spoke. What do you want? I rested my hands on the table. Full recognition as VigilNet's creator and lead architect. 50% ownership of all intellectual property and patents. A board seat to oversee ethical implementation. And $10 million for your attempt to erase me from my own invention. His jaw tightened like a vice. That's extortion. No, I said calmly. That's negotiation. Extortion would be me sending those breach reports to your investors, or to the Securities Commission. He glared at me, breathing shallowly. His shoulders rose and fell in the silence, and then with a bitter exhale, he slumped slightly. The system, he muttered. Can you fix it before tomorrow? VigilNet doesn't need fixing, I replied. It just needs its creator reinstated. Right now, it's flagging your commands as unauthorized because I was cut out of the authentication chain. I reached into my pocket, pulled out a small flash drive, and set it on the table like a final chess piece. This has the update to resolve the access issues. Consider it a goodwill gesture. The contracts can be drawn up in the morning. He looked at the flash drive, then at me. And if I refuse? I shrugged. Then the system stays broken. The demo fails. And those reports end up in some very curious hands. For a moment, I saw him consider defiance. But then with a reluctant sigh, he reached for the drive. You planned this, he whispered, a blend of awe and accusation. I smiled, slow and deliberate. No, I replied. I just hoped it wouldn't come to this. But after catching you snooping on my secure server 6 months ago, I began building in protections for the system and for myself. His eyes narrowed. How did you know I'd try to cut you out? I stood and slung my bag over my shoulder. I didn't, I said truthfully, but VigilNet was designed to predict threats. I suppose some of that rubbed off on its creator. The next morning, I returned to Ironcore, not as a departing employee, but as its newly minted Chief Technology Officer and co-founder. Nathan stood beside me in the investor suite, reassembled in his tailored armor of professionalism, introducing me to the assembled giants of finance with a grin that strained at the edges. The demo that followed was seamless. VigilNet performed with elegance and precision, neutralizing every simulated threat with algorithmic grace. When one particularly sharp investor turned to Nathan and asked what inspired this remarkable system, I watched him pause, just long enough for the moment to stretch. He forced a smile. It was Alex's vision, he said, from the beginning. Ironcore merely gave it a home. As the questions turned toward me, my phone buzzed with a notification: VigilNet authentication restored. Threat neutralized. System integrity restored. Creator protections active. The system had recognized a threat. It had neutralized it, and it had safeguarded its creator's legacy just as I had trained it to do. 3 months later, VigilNet faced its first trial in the wild, a sophisticated cyber attack aimed at the core infrastructure of a global banking network, the kind of strike that could have triggered cascading failures across continents. The stakes were nearly unimaginable, an estimated $340 million in potential losses, reputational ruin, shattered trust. But VigilNet. My VigilNet stood like a digital sentinel at the gates. It anticipated the breach before the first firewall blinked. It responded not with panic or delay, but with seamless precision, adapting in real-time, sealing vulnerabilities faster than any human could have traced them. The attack was neutralized before the boardrooms even had time to panic. That single event changed everything. What could have been a catastrophe instead became a case study in next-generation defense, catapulting VigilNet into the spotlight as the new gold standard of cybersecurity. The industry began to whisper our name with reverence. And beneath the thunderous applause and rapid-fire contracts, something quieter, more subtle took shape between Nathan Cross and me. We maintained a professional relationship, cordial, distant, rigidly defined. Nathan, for all his moral shortcomings, did have his talents. He pivoted cleanly into business development, turning investor confidence into market expansion with the ease of a practiced performer. I stayed in my lane, technical innovation, AI ethics, design, evolution. My role was irreplaceable. So was the invisible wall that divided us. We were not friends, and we never would be. But we had found an equilibrium, however precarious, and for now it held. Now. Sometimes, in the quiet of late nights at my terminal, I wondered if I had chosen the right path. I could have sued. I could have dragged him and the company through a protracted, brutal legal battle. Maybe even won. But I had created something too powerful, too singular, to leave to chance or courtroom rhetoric. So instead, I'd chosen strategy over fury, leverage over litigation. I didn't just protect VigilNet, I ensured that no one, not even Nathan Cross himself, could wield it without me. And in the process, I discovered something deeper than betrayal. The real threat had never been corporate theft or contract clauses. It had been the naive assumption that innovation alone was enough, that brilliance didn't require a shield. Nathan's betrayal had taught me a lesson far more essential than anything I'd learned in engineering. Technology is only as ethical as the hands that shape it. That truth became VigilNet's North Star. Every deployment from that moment forward included not just firewalls and anomaly detection, but ethical oversight, transparency audits, and built-in safeguards to prevent abuse. VigilNet was no longer just a security platform. It was a living, learning guardian, designed not only to protect networks, but to protect itself and its users from exploitation, internal and external alike. Just last week, we stood on stage for the company's public offering. The valuation had stunned even the most optimistic analysts, $4.2 billion. The room buzzed with energy and ambition. After the applause, a young developer approached me with wide eyes and a badge that still had that first-day stiffness. "What's the secret?" she asked, notebook clutched to her chest. "How do you build something that changes everything?" I looked at her, the hope in her voice, the fire behind her curiosity, and I smiled gently. "It's not just about the code," I told her. "It's about recognizing that the greatest threats often come from within. The real challenge isn't building tech that works. It's creating systems that can learn, adapt, and defend themselves without ever compromising the integrity they were born to uphold." She nodded, thoughtful and quiet, already processing. I turned away as my phone buzzed. I glanced down and saw the alert. VigilNet status: system integrity secured. Threat neutralized. Creator protections active. It did exactly what it was designed to do, just as I had finally learned to do for myself. But now I want to hear from you. After all I endured, being overlooked, betrayed, nearly erased, I came out stronger, smarter. I didn't do it through brute force or blind revenge. I relied on my knowledge, my instincts, and the unshakable conviction that what I'd built mattered, that I mattered. So let me ask you, if you were in my place, what would you have done? Would you have taken it to court, exposed the betrayal to the world, or walked away and started from scratch? Do you think I made the right call, turning the tables, reclaiming what was mine, and rewriting the rules of the game? Leave a comment. Share your story. Tell me about the moment you stood up for yourself at work, in your relationships, or in the middle of something you poured your soul into. Because this isn't just my story. It's a story that belongs to every one of us who's ever had to protect what we've built. If my experience resonated with you, even in some small way, consider giving this video a like and subscribing to the channel. It's a simple gesture, but it helps more people find these stories, and maybe it'll empower someone else to take a stand when it matters most.